Hey, this is Sean, just looking at your action reaction animation you turned in for your animation pass. So I'll tell you what the major stuff that I noticed first, and then give you some like next steps that I think you should take this animation to, if you feel like it, or if you want to just move on to the next assignment. When I'm watching it, oh, there we go. The guy falls in the end, so he kind of pops back up at the end. It's hard for my eye to follow it. So normally what I do is just add a second or so to the end of the animation, especially if you like upload that to YouTube. The thing just ends before it starts, so you want to give viewers time to register what's happening. You're doing it well at the start, where you have the looping idle, and the two guys are kind of off sync from each other, which is cool, doing their thing, and then one guy's anticipating, and then I'm guessing he's trying to kick, and one guy's dodging the kick, which is cool. It's not reading super clear, because I can't really tell what's happening there, because he kind of goes into the space of the kick. Maybe you're supposed to have him like knock the foot out of the way or something like that. We'll get into that more, and then you have a cool flash, and I like that you animated the camera for some funness. I think it's too much. It's moving around so heavily and then stops suddenly. We kind of want that to ramp up and down. I'll try and get into that in a minute. And then the land on the ground could use some love, like if you use reference or took video. So this whole sequence is sort of derived from you wanting to using this as reference. Because you play a lot of this game, and then let's see. So you notice that Donkey Kong here, even in this reference, not looking at, you should be taking live action reference for most of this stuff, but even in the reference that you're using, he's falling over. And I think they're probably having him breathe because it's a knockout and not a death. So there's like a very obvious like breath right there on the punch. Okay, so that's the fall. I would film it. I don't know, maybe you did take reference, so I won't get into this too much detail without having reference. It's just not really worthwhile. Where else would I go first? So probably one of the biggest issues that most animators will probably identify really quickly is go to perspective mode. The foot. Here we go. Yeah. So when the guy, he's kind of has this weird floating sensation. It looks like you do have if there's an up on the hips and then a down and then a settle. Oh, and then you're not holding this pose for very long. Let's see, in your reference, even though it's fast, uh-oh, my internet might be running kind of slow. Let's see. The whole time he's already stepped into it and building it. Come on, internet. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 frames, and you're holding yours for 5. So I would like at least double this time so he gets into the pose faster, and then you can move. One easy trick to get it, because right now what's happening is his foot's lifting and it's just the momentum's not there. It doesn't really kind of weight-wise make sense. But you can just delay when that foot lifts to give time, and then maybe delay this up pose to give maybe a kick time, and then move the foot faster so it lands earlier. Just doing that might help. Yeah, and you can also delay it even more and then start getting the toe involved if you wanted. So the toe is lifting. Zero that back out. So you get some like band. Don't forget the hips. Get some hips action in there on the lift so you get some lift. I don't know, you'll have to play with it. Yeah, and then add way more time in there. And then I'd watch the hand going over the leg. It kind of looks like, I don't know if this was your intention or not, that he's like, even if it wasn't your intention, you should get him to like kick the leg out of the way. You know, bam. That pose actually kind of reads a little bit clearly anyway, and it's a more interesting action. You'd probably have to go film some reference too, because it would also make the hips kick, and then it would set this guy up for like a funny pose that you could stay into, and then you could bring that fist around and slam in there, because you're already kind of doing the funny pose. And then on this pose too, I'd do the same thing. I would make sure you'd clear the action, so you have like these two distinct let's see, go back to the camera. So you have this like, what I'm trying to do is have two really clear silhouettes. Something is weird with your camera that's preventing me from selecting stuff. Just trying to get this out of the way. This is sort of the things that you try and solve. Let's go perspective, camera one, in like the as much as you can during block out, because that should read a lot better. The other issue is this foot here. This foot here, it lifts up, but way before the punch, it should just lag behind, because he's kind of pushing off the back foot. This guy is, see, there is some push up right there. So we got 1, 2, 3 push ups, and then he kind of like magic slides over, and they're hiding some of the weight oddness via the VFX and the speed. But either way, just adding. Oh, I messed up the camera. Yeah, I did. Delete. I almost want to just for this action, I would do it this way. And then you can hold this pose too, but it's a little bit off balance. And if you look at your reference, oh yeah, he doesn't hold that very long. So I guess you could keep it. But you see how his hips are over, almost over this toe, and it's split up between these 2 feet. So his weight should be a lot more centered. Or you can also lean him over if you wanted. It looks like that he's a lot more up on his foot. and it looks turned in. Perspective. Huh? Where's the other knee? I lost it. This guy? Haha. Yeah, the knee helps a bunch, moving that knee over. So you can work on that pose. There's a lot to kind of dig in here and work on it. There's this cool, like, settle in there, too. There's, like, an overshoot. So he's holding that pose for a long time. I mean, how many frames is that? Oh, I get it. You're trying to mimic the camera move. I get it. Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 13. He's holding the punch pose for 13. And then he pulls back. He settles. And then there's this cool, like, weight shift. Because the force is now left Ryu's hand. And then it kind of settles back down and shifts. And everything's kind of moving separately. It's over only a few frames. And then he holds the pose, and then he eases out of the pose, and then hops back over, and then back up. It's pretty cool. Let's see. So it looks like you are holding the pose for a good amount of time, but you're just missing that, like, that settle that he was doing there. And then I would just go ahead and, like, film yourself acting out this stuff on the other character to work on it. I guess that's all I'll cover for... Oh, the other thing I wanted to try and say is your camera framing is very far out. Like, the action is, you know, in here. So if you grab your camera, so this button selects the camera that it's in the viewport, you could just field of view this guy a little tighter. It's an easy solve if you wanted. And then you could, from there you could start getting the, you want to try and get the framing a little bit using the, like, 2/3 rule composition stuff. Let's see if you're, I don't know if you're rotating the camera at all or not. Looks like you're not keying the rotation. Yeah, cool. So you can just kill the rotation. And then frame it however you want. But just doing that really helps a bunch. Oh, it looks like I didn't delete the keys on that. But anyway, there's some tips for you. Some good stuff in there. Some stuff to work on. It's kind of screwy now that I changed some poses but didn't actually update your anim. Anyway, I'll talk to you later, Anthony. Bye.